All right, everybody, welcome back. We're going to finish up our portfolio page here, do some final cleanup with some styling, some CSS. So let's just kind of hop right into it so we can get finished up with this. So let's share my screen and take a look at what we've got. We're almost there. We've got a picture, we've got some cards, we got to redo that a little bit. I think I might even show you how to redo this down here as well. So let's start somewhere simple. Let's take a look and start modifying these cards. The alignment on these cards are off. And so we're going to use a little bit of CSS, and then I'm going to use a little bit of HTML as well. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to come in here, and let's see where we're at here. Here is the portfolio, and here we go. So we have these rows, and these rows have padding on them. All right, so let's just take a look at this. What I want to do is I'm going to start by adjusting stuff. I'm going to get rid of this text center class because I really don't need it there. All right, and I can adjust this padding a little later on, which I will, but not right now. The next thing I want to do is take care of this width here, this 20 rem. Because if you remember that the image that I have anywhere I have an image, all right, it has a width and a height of 300 pixels. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the width of my card to 300 pixels. All right, and that's just going to make this look a whole lot nicer. So that way they're all the same size right there. All right, so I have the width of my card being 300 pixels, and then we have the class card with 300, and then here we go. We have an image, a source, a puppy, the card block, card title, and card text. Good to go. All right, I like that. So we have a column, medium 6, and then we're going to come back in here. Going to do the same thing. Here's our column, medium 6 that we want. I'm going to make this 300 pixels just to make sure everything kind of matches up here. And div. And this div, let's see where this matches up to. This should match up to the beginning of our row. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to highlight all this. All right, and just take all of my changes here. And I'm just going to kind of paste it over this next section here. So here is the row, 1 card, 2 cards. There we go. And tidy my HTML. So what do we have now? Now we have the cards here. All right, they're looking okay. But nothing is centered. All right, so we have the cards, but the cards are starting on the left margin. So we don't really want that either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start modifying these cards because these are all card elements using CSS. So remember, if I have a name here, I can start at the top if I want. So card is a custom class, so dot card. See dot card. Then I'm just going to say text line center. I'll center the text on there. You can see what that does. There we go. It's nice and centered. And let's say I want to get these to hang out in the middle of those columns. I'm just going to say margin auto. There we go. And you can probably see that blip right in. So now we are in the center right where we want to be. Good to go. So that's the cards for us. That just kind of helps us separate everything right there. So that's pretty good. I like that. What's next here that we can take care of? Let's see. There we go. And then we have our content. Uh-oh. We have a div problem. Whoop. Missing an end div. Div. Contact. See where that div lines up to. Row. And See where that one ends up now. The portfolio block. That's where I wanted it to line up to. There we go. What happened was my card block ended up nested in between here. I didn't really want that nested in there. Okay, so here we go. We've got our cards in there. We have a contact. I'm going to take out this awkward space in this contact. So that awkward space is because of this line break, this extra line break that we don't need. See what that looks like. That's looking smarter. And also I want to enlarge these buttons a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is I really don't want a button list here per se. I want to use some of our classes here, and I want to have one row with 3 different columns in it. So remember, our columns are 12 in Bootstrap, a total of 12 possible columns. Divide that by 3, which means that each column would have a value of 4. All right, if you follow me with this. So here we go. Instead of having a class for button list and text center, because we really don't need this text center, I'm going to take this block here, and we have this block 2, mind you. All right, so we have block 2, contact, that's our end of our H1. And then this, I'm just going to make this a row. Okay, when I make that a row, you're going to see that, okay, nothing really changed, except now it's stuck everything right next to each other in a row. Okay, but what that allows us to do, once we have that row, is that allows us now to place a new div here, new div, and we can add a class, a Bootstrap class, equaling the column. Now this is a relatively small space, so I'm just going to use small 4. And I'm just going to copy this for sake of ease, Control C. And I want that column to just be for Twitter, so /div, close that div. Okay. That one more time. Good. So I have a row there. And notice that's in its own. Now everything's starting to stack up here. So we have a row. So the row goes from here through this spacer. I really don't want that. Let's see. This row, I want the div. And all I'm doing is seeing where these are associated. There we go. I want this row to only be with my buttons. All right. /div. See, so that ends my block. Oops, I didn't need the extra one. Okay, sorry about that. I just forgot that slash. And so I'm going to paste /div there, paste /div. All I did is I just stuck all these in a small div just like that. Cool, now it's all spread out. All right, we can take care of the spacing a little bit later on. So row, let's see if that centers it. I did it before with CSS, actually. There you go. And I centered that in the row. There you go. You could do that with CSS too, but I'm just adding the text center there because it's easier. So that looks a little better. And I'm going to actually add in BTN LG. Does that do? Ooh, button large. And I'm just going to add this in with all these BTN-LG. Make my button larger. BTN-LG. Button larger. Take a look at what this looks like now. Ah, look at that. Nice big buttons. Notice they're not all squished together. And you can see YouTube, GitHub, and all of that. So there's my contact. I like that. That's pretty good, right? I think that's pretty good. All right. So we have this. Spacer block 2, contact, H1, good to go. All right, so I have my horizontal rule in there. I like the way that looks. I'm happy with that. I'm just double checking my CSS to make sure everything is hunky-dory here. Let's take a look at my block 2. It's a little too blocky. I'm not too worried about that. So this padding's a little much, but we can always adjust this padding right here in our block 2 if you want to change how much is stuck around this area here. And again, that's up to you for aesthetics, but that's where it is. I'm actually going to, these buttons and my images, I want them to stand out a little more. All right, so how do I do that? Well, first thing, I'll go up to my image class here. So I'm going to start off my image class, and I'm going to add in a box shadow. All right, the box shadow kind of makes it look 3D-ish. So I'm going to go to my images, and I'm going to type in box shadow. Box shadow. Again, this is something you can look up and play with later. All right, and put a black box shadow. All right, and you can take a look at these values later on, but it's easier for you just to kind of play with the values themselves. All right, and you can see how everywhere I have an image, I get a little 3D looking box shadow. Looks kind of neat, right? I also want to put that box shadow down here on my buttons, so I can target my buttons. Target my buttons. I can do the same thing. Control C, Control V. I think this box shadow is going to be a little intense for buttons, which it is. So I might back this down to 5 pixels each, maybe. There you go. That looks a little better. Okay. I'm thinking that's looking pretty smart. What else do I want to change here? I think that text right here is too small. I think that text is too small. So I could do a few things with that text. So where is that text located in my HTML? I believe I just used a p tag for that. So if you're going to have a lot of text in here, all right, there's things that you want to do. So let me, hey, go ahead and make a big Control C, Control V, make a big block of text for you. I'll go to the About Me section, and you can kind of see what this looks like. It's kind of small, kind of stuck in there. I really don't like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the font size right from my p tags, and I'm going to add in a little indent at the beginning of the p tag or the paragraph. So how do I do that? Well, I'm just going to add in somewhere. Here's good. Since the p tag is a normal class here, I can just say p. And I want to text a line, right? And I'm just going to say, you know what? Let's justify that. What does that do? Well, look, it makes it look kind of like a newspaper or whatever. All right, and I know my screen is small, but what else can we do? Let's take this P, and I will text indent. And let's go 40 pixels. Oh, look, it indented for us, our little paragraph. And now let's make the actual text a little bit bigger by saying font size. And we can justify this with 20 pixels. Ooh, that looks nice. There's going to be a slight issue. It even changes my cards down here. See that? The text down here changed my cards because that is still a p tag. All right. Not only that, but since the text align is justify, it's trying to justify this text over here. It's no longer in the center. So there's something that I have to do over here. I can either change all the cards, all right, for the p tags, which I can. So let's just say that this is cute instead of a p. I go within H3. See what that looks like. See what the H3 looks like. See if you can find the one that's H3. Oh, there it is. All right. So H3 looks pretty good. Maybe not H3. What is H4? Is that a little bit smaller? Let's see what H4 looks like. Is H4 too small? No, H4 is actually perfect. Cool. So let's go with H4 on the bottom of those cards for the card text. So all I'm doing is I'm replacing this with H4, the P tags here. And you can kind of see how we can go in and just modify everything little by little. But you have to know that the style sheets cascade. So basically, whatever the parent property is going to happen. The same thing is going to happen to things that are underneath of it. But sometimes you get some weird things, like you notice that my text all of a sudden was no longer text centered because it was under P. It was described as P, and everything that's under P for paragraph all of a sudden just got justified. So that's what happened there. Okay. I'm actually pretty happy with this. This is coming out really nice, right? Good to go. So we have the buttons. We messed with the P tags. We decided to go through, and you can kind of see how we have our block, right? And our block 2, which is all working out really nicely for us. We added this button with the drop shadow there, and we've also adjusted our image with a box shadow as well, which turns out very, very nicely. All right. So I think that that's looking pretty smart. What else can we do? Let's increase. Let's start messing a little bit with this padding bottom, padding top here. Let's make this row. Let's do that to both rows, actually. I've got 2 rows, and let's add in this. Make sure we have the padding style C. Div class. Oh, that's down. And we do have that. Oh, there it is. That's the difference. Equals. Style equals. There it is. There's the syntax error. What is that going to do? That's going to add more space. Ooh, that's way too much space. Let's make this 5%. See what that looks like. So, again, I'm just hunting for something that doesn't look right or doesn't make any sense and trying to find the typo. Oh, that's very nice spacing. Look at that. All right. So I think we're pretty well done. And you can adjust this space or add more space down below here if you really want. I think that looks pretty good the way it is. But again, just mess with the CSS. The buttons roll over. The only thing you really have left to do at this point is populate your own projects. Note that you can also add an anchor tag, all right, to all this stuff. So you can click on the text or the pictures and make those anchor tags, or you can go grab a button underneath those, all right? And I'm talking about your card elements here. So if you want to be able to click on this, you can make one of these things an anchor tag to click on to go somewhere else. And also at the bottom here, you want to make sure that these buttons go somewhere, okay? So right now they don't really go anywhere for me because I don't really need to put that stuff in there. But I do have the target blank. Remember the href for your Twitter, your GitHub, and your YouTube here, or whatever other websites you want. Obviously, it doesn't have to be those 3. Alrighty, so that was a pretty quick overview on how we do a quick fix and make this thing look pretty. So again, you should be done. You should be good to go. So hopefully this was helpful. And then I'll see you again on our next project.